So you all know that there are two right-wing cable news channels that are actually further right than Fox News. And by further right, I mean even more conspiratorial, uh, even bigger disseminators of disinformation. And that's OAN and Newsmax. But even this is a bit too far out there, I thought, for Newsmax, at least comparative to all the other things they've put out there. So Newsmax had an average Minnesotan. I think the guy's from Minnesota. Just an average American. Let's go with that, just to be safe, just to be sure, on the show. A small business owner, I believe he is. And this guy has a really big Trump flag, which I guess is enough to get you on Newsmax. I don't think you can even guess where this conversation's going. But let's take a watch right now.
All right, last month we spoke to a Minnesota business owner who refused to take down a massive Trump 2020 flag that violated his city's ordinance. Jay Johnson is facing increased fines and says not even jail time can stop him from flying this huge flag over his construction business. Just this weekend, he doubled down, put up an even bigger flag. This one is 40 by 60. It is 900 square feet bigger than his previous flag.
For those of you listening to the podcast right now, the flag is a huge, giant flag. He just told you the dimensions, the Newsmax hosted. But he's not telling you quite yet what it says. It says Trump, JFK Jr., 2024, where we go one, we go all. And for those of you who aren't familiar with this show, because I've told you a bazillion times, where we go one, I've covered it a bazillion times. Where we go one, we go all is the QAnon slogan / catchphrase. And JFK Jr. Is the deceased son of JFK, who QAnon thinks is still alive and secretly a huge mega Trump supporter, and will one day unveil himself to be alive and to be a huge mega Trump supporter and become Donald Trump's running mate. Now, they thought this was going to happen for 2020, and Trump was going to kick Pence off of the ticket, I should say. Of course, this didn't happen. I guess sane people wouldn't believe this to begin with, but if you were starting to come to reality, you would assume that maybe this isn't going to happen anymore. But clearly, that's not happening. They're just kicking this can further down the road. JFK Jr. clearly still alive to them, and he will eventually be Trump's vice president on this ticket when Trump runs again in 2024. Let's continue with this clip, though.
Thing's like 3,600 square feet. It is huge, the size of the footprint of a house. He's also flying it proudly in the small city of Buffalo, Minnesota, which is, I guess, is technically a blue state. Makes it even funnier. Jay Johnson joins us now. Jay, great to have you back. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's a bigger flag, slightly different than the last one. It has the names Trump and JFK Jr. on it. Is that right? With the slogan, "Where we go one, we go all." Explain this flag.
I refuse to believe that this Newsmax guy does not know. He's feigning ignorance here. Oh, what is this JFK Jr. mention? And where we go one, where we go all. What is this? I find it hard to believe that a Newsmax host does not know what's going on here. But clearly, I guess he realizes that this is even too far out there for even Newsmax. So they got to pretend they don't know what it is. So they can't be called out for letting this stuff on the show with the knowledge of what it is. But let's continue because it's funny.
Well, Trump, to me, is the Lone Ranger, and the Lone Ranger needs a guy by his side, and that's JFK. And so I decided to put it up and leave the people think about what's going on.
Sure. I mean, how do you bring JFK into this? Explain that a little bit to me.
Yes, please explain this to him.
Well, JFK and Donald Trump were friends, and um, and
They were. I don't know if they were actually friends. They ran in the same elite Manhattan circles, obviously, back when Trump was a Democrat. This was like in the 90s. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to call that friends in the year 2021, I guess you could.
I don't know if you know this, but Donald Trump is president,
Yeah.
and Donald Trump needs a vice president. So when the time was right, I bring him out, and he's your new vice president.
There you go. All right.
Right. There's one problem here, though, that the Newsmax host didn't mention. Just might put a little I don't know, a little roadblock in the way of JFK Jr. being Trump's VP. He died in a plane crash in 1999. The Newsmax host never mentions that small, perhaps important fact that this guy has a flag up where Donald Trump's vice president is someone who died 21 years ago. I guess something maybe you should have mentioned. But again, you can do that, I guess, if you think he's still alive, but then you would have to know the QAnon lore, which they claim not to know, right? He feigned ignorance. But by the way, if you're unfamiliar, you haven't caught previous episodes of the show, this is actually the guy that QAnon believes is JFK Jr. in disguise. This is a Trump supporter by the name of Vincent Fusca. He was often seen at Trump rallies, and they think he's like the spitting image of JFK Jr. I mean, I guess I should pull up what JFK Jr. looks like if you're unfamiliar, so you can see exactly where they get this from. I mean, if you ask me, the resemblance is simply uncanny. I would never have thought JFK Jr. was dead if I saw Vinny Fusca at a Trump rally. I mean, look at that. The spitting image. The spitting image. I mean, ladies, I mean, I know they say men get better looks, men's looks get better with age, right? What about that JFK Jr. ending up looking like Vinny Fusca over there? That's oof. Though those looks age like a fine wine, right? Right, ladies? And for you men out there too, who were big fans of JFK Jr. back in the day, maybe had a crush yourself on JFK Jr. Isn't he looking sexier than ever? Oh my God, Christ Almighty! What are we doing? Where are human beings going?